Everyone, this may be one of the most important articles and maybe videos that I've done. What they say in this is very, very alarming because this is them leaving the breadcrumbs, leaving the trail, and programming us for the next pandemic. Okay? And we already had Gates come out and say that in the next 5 years, the most likely, the worst thing that we could have happen to us would be a biological virus, okay? A bioweapon, somebody that a terrorist, releases on all of us.
You try to warn us about this pandemic, and we didn't listen. What's the next thing you're warning us about that's going to happen 5 years from now that we're not listening to at the present?
Well, the idea of a bioterrorist attack is kind of the nightmare scenario because they're a pathogen with a high death rate would be picked. Now, the good news is, I'm not trying to depress you, most of the work we're going to do to be ready for pandemic 2, I call this pandemic 1.
Most of the work we're going to do to be ready for pandemic 2, I call this pandemic 1.
Most of the work we'll do to be ready for that are also the things we need to do to minimize the threat of bioterrorism.
Okay, now knowing him saying that, and here is your lovely CNN, your number one place for propaganda news, okay? But we need to pay attention. Like I said, they put this out there for a reason, okay? Now let's listen to this. This is from April 29th, so, today is May 8th. So this has been out for a little over a week, okay? But let's get into this. The next pandemic could be even worse. This is war. A world war. Not against a country or regime, but a virus. An enemy invader that is as alien to most people as it is invisible and completely unaffected by humanity's borders, politics, or morality. After dangerously slow starts, first in China, Europe, and the United States, the world is now mobilizing to face the COVID-19 pandemic in an all-hands-on-deck moment. This counterattack is already showing preliminary results, but much of our effort will be for naught if we fully demobilize once this battle is won. Okay? You understand what they're saying there, right? That no matter what, even if we do finally beat this pandemic, if we beat this deadly virus, we can't pull back the reins on you. You still aren't getting all your rights back because we can't take the chance that this might happen again. If we fully demobilize, this will come back. So you're not going to get your rights back. Never. There's a reason why militaries don't demobilize after each war. To face ongoing threats, our militaries maintain ongoing capabilities. Even though we've faced terrible pandemics before, we're now suffering unnecessarily because we've not applied their lessons to our ongoing war with deadly pathogens. If any military had failed as spectacularly as the world's government have in preparing for and preventing this crisis, their leaders would have been summarily fired. The commanders who replaced them would then be judged by their ability to do everything possible to prevent the next crisis. Do you see this? Programming over and over again the next crisis. As the levers of state power and public health around the world now shift into gear, we can expect better results over the coming months, potentially including ongoing development of one or more COVID-19 vaccines and therapeutic strategies for critical care.
A vaccine that's highly effective that we get out to the world population. We'll understand by this summer, we'll see because they're going into humans now, we'll see if they get this strong antibody response. So even a year from now, if everything went perfectly, because we're backing, 10 of the leading constructs, I've been saying 18 months, but some of these vaccines are ahead of that schedule.
But even once we have a vaccine, we can't allow a full demobilization because as bad as the virus is, future pandemics could be even worse. Fear. They're pushing fear, fear. Even if we give you this vaccine that's going to save us right now, it won't save us forever. So you have to listen to us. You have to do what we say. Because this next virus, this next pandemic will be the end of the world if you don't listen. The novel coronavirus hits the rare sweet spot for infectious diseases. I gotta tell that. Can you believe they just said that? The rare sweet spot. Like it's a good thing, right? Because it is good for them. You know what I mean? It just happens to be the perfect virus, right? It does all the things that it has to do so that they can continue to do what they're doing to all people, taking all their rights away. It causes illness, but many people have mild symptoms or are asymptomatic, facilitating the spread. It wasn't so deadly that it immobilized its new host immediately, or, as would be the case with Ebola, provoked an immediate quarantine of affected areas. It succeeded in part because the true threat wasn't immediately recognized. The world of biology is dynamic by definition, so there has always been the chance that deadly viruses like this would jump from animals to humans. It's always been a question of when, not if. Through our destruction of national habitats, population growth, international travel, industrial scale, animal husbandry, and other actions, however, our species has massively exacerbated this threat. But naturally occurring viruses might pale in comparison to the viruses that could potentially be created by the powerful new tools of synthetic biology, agents precision engineered to cause harm. I wonder who's doing that, right? I wonder who would be doing this. I wonder if it's all the ones that are in charge right now. Could that be a possibility that you are creating these things? A recent piece in the journal Nature Medicine assessing the likely origins of the novel coronavirus concluded that, whatever the origins of the outbreak itself, SARS-CoV-2 is most likely natural occurring because of the relatively inefficient ways it hijacks human cells. In other words, if a malicious genetic engineer was intentionally manipulating a virus to be deadly and contagious, they could potentially do a much better job. In 2017, University of Alberta in Canada synthesized an extinct horsepox virus, a cousin of smallpox, for around $100,000. Can you believe how they're talking about this? Can you believe, number one, how they're messing with these types of things? You know? An extinct horsepox virus, a cousin of smallpox. And you've heard Gates get up there and talk about how much, if it was like smallpox, how much worse, situation we would be in, right?
We also face a new threat that the next epidemic has a good chance of originating on a computer screen of a terrorist intent on using genetic engineering to create a synthetic version of the smallpox virus or a contagious and highly deadly strain of flu. So the point is that we ignore the strong link between health security and international security at our peril. Whether it occurs by the quirk of nature or at the hand of a terrorist, epidemiologists show through their models that a respiratory spread pathogen would kill more than 30 million people in less than a year. And there is a reasonable probability of that taking place in the years ahead.
It's just crazy. Then they put, for $100,000. And now they say this science has advanced so rapidly and the cost has come down so perceptuously that the same feat could today be achieved for just a few $1,000s. Can they? This is crazy, right? It's just like, you want to talk about massive programming. They're telling you how easy this is going to happen and that it's going to happen. And it's so cheap, anybody could do it. Unlike nuclear weapons, the development of which need the type of massive infrastructure usually reserved for nation states, developing a synthetic pathogen is now within the capacity of many groups or even individuals distributed across the globe. The next pandemic may not be an accident of nature. But if we think about our struggle against any and all infectious agents as a battlefield, which we should, then we should learn from our most effective militaries about how best to prepare for what may be heading our way. Programming. It's coming. Hey, everybody, pay attention. It's coming. Here's the plan. Just like we told you, this is a plandemic, right? Well, guess what? Here's their next plandemic, and this one is going to be worse. Number 1, maintain essential capabilities. The soldiers in our fight against deadly pathogens are our public health officials, doctors, government planners, and data modelers. Yeah, we love the data modelers, don't we? Because they've been just perfectly, on point, right? Yeah. To build the standing capabilities we need for this fight, we must invest the necessary time and money to prepare for rare but inevitable events. With disease outbreaks, you pay a bit now for readiness, or you pay a lot later for response, only with more human suffering added to the price tag. Once we have these personnel in place, we must plan and train like our lives depend on it. They do. Number 2, develop global and local surveillance networks. What do you know, right? Your one world government, your one world system, correct? Yes, and also what? A massive surveillance network. Militaries invest massive resources in monitoring their enemies' every action through satellite networks, spies, and data analytics. To be ready for the next pandemic, we must develop new sensor systems that can identify new infectious agents in real time and use advanced data analytics to identify worrisome patterns of diseases well before a major outbreak emerges. So what they're saying is they have to take all your rights away from here on out because they have to prepare for this possibility. Build and maintain a network of alliances. Few militaries can succeed alone, and no country can protect itself from a deadly pathogen on its own. Pandemic preparedness must become a core and ongoing component of international cooperation. The World Health Organization can play the central role in this process, but only if it has the resources, staff, and mandate to succeed. We must make that happen. See? One world government. Number 4, build emergency response capacity. Militaries have been expeditionary forces to take the battle to the enemy wherever a threat originates. We need the same capabilities for pandemics. The moment a tripwire is triggered indicating a potential pathogen outbreak, trained emergency response teams, both national and international, must be ready to mobilize and equipped with the tools and authority to respond. That's important. Not only the tools, which are going to be all your tracking systems, your deadly vaccines, but that's not the part that is more important here. The authority to respond, okay? That is your one world government, your United Nations, your whoever is going to be in charge of this one world system that they're telling you they're building right now, that they're already building, and that they got to keep going with it.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
They have to have all authority. That means no authority in the United States, no authority in Canada, none anywhere else in the world, because the only ones that's going to have authority is the one world government. Number 5, forward deployed personnel and weaponry. Transporting personnel and equipment to faraway locations is expensive and slow, which is why leading militaries deploy people and equipment near the theaters where they will most likely be needed. The organization of the U.S. Strategic National Stockpile may need a review to put more medical equipment closer to the front lines in major urban centers. Okay, Now, we go back just a little bit. You remember Burks getting up there, Deborah Burks getting up there and talking about, if you're in an urban city, if you are in a major urban city, you better prepare. The virus is coming for you.
Where is this headed in the next few weeks?
Well, this is the way pandemics work, and that's why we all are deeply concerned and why we've been raising the alert in all metro areas and in all states. No state, no metro area will be spared.
You just said no metro area is spared. So that does tell me that this idea of creating a county by county low, medium, high risk advisory level by the middle of the week, is that something that's not going to happen?
No, I think those two pieces come together. There's two pieces that we absolutely need, and I think you've had many experts talking about this. One of them is ensuring that we have full capacity for full diagnosis. And so that is still going on, and we do have enough tests for that. The other piece of this is surveillance. So we're looking across the United States for counties that do have lower case numbers right now, to see what we can do right now in order to really put into place full surveillance, full contact tracing, and full diagnostic capacity to ensure that cases are found and we contact trace, while the metros and other areas go through clearly important mitigation efforts to spare as many American lives as possible.
We know it's coming there, so you better prepare. Yeah, we know, because everything is planned, and you just see it more and more like this. I mean, look at, they're telling you ahead of time. Once again, it will be the same areas hard hit that are taking it right now that are going to take these hard hits again. In recent years, the U.S. government pulled back some of the personnel on the ground in foreign countries working in disease prevention, as we are now seeing if we don't fight the skirmish of a pathogenic agent at its source, we can end up fighting a major war everywhere else. Number 6, invest in the defensive weapons of the future. Militaries are always building the next generation of weapons and working to counter the enemy's latest innovations. We now need to step up our efforts to create vaccine platforms that can rapidly counter novel threats, as well as universal vaccines designed to target entire classes of viruses. Here, the growing power of synthetic biology to quickly design, build, and deploy countermeasures in near real time can be a powerful force for good. There is little doubt that we're not ready for the terrible and largely preventable crisis we now face. Our poorly planned, undersourced, and haphazard global response has led to over 200,000 deaths, massively disrupted our lives, and caused trillions of dollars in economic fallout. Really? Yeah, because we really believe your number, which we know is completely false. Okay? And you're poorly planned? Oh no, you planned it perfect. You planned it perfect. And you're just going step by step down your plan. Shame on us if we are caught unprepared the next time. If you don't see the writing on the wall after listening to that article, you will never see it. They are telling us that this second pandemic that's going to come is pretty much going to be the end pandemic. And the only way that it will stop is if they do everything that they just said right there, which includes taking every single right that you thought you still had left. If we do not stand up now, if we do not push back against this today, not tomorrow, we need to do this right now, then you are looking at the life you will have until you die. We must stand up. We must stay in our Bibles. We must be praying daily. Pray to Jesus. Let him know what's going on. Pray against this evil. Pray for the strength to be able to unite with other people that are trying to get the information out there. We have to do this together. We cannot fight these enemies alone. And if you have Jesus, and you have all of us. We can beat this, and we will beat this. There is no doubt. We know Jesus wins in the end. That book doesn't have any new chapters coming out anytime soon. Jesus wins. Evil loses. Thank you all for your support. Let's continue to get this information out there because the time is running out. I hope all of you are doing well. We'll talk to you soon. God bless.